Hello, this is Pack Your Bags with Tui, and I'm Russell Kane, the podcast where we dig through celebrity suitcases one item at a time. Each episode, I'm joined by some of the biggest names from the world of sport, food, entertainment, and more. They're going to share their 3 must-pack travel items, from oddball keepsakes to brilliant travel hacks. Each item offers a glimpse into how they view the world, whether they're living the high life in 5-star comfort or surviving on a campsite. Mostly it's the first one, I'm not going to lie. It's not just about unpacking our guests' luggage. Okay, maybe this is going to be a bit of emotional baggage too. We're also sorting out your travel dilemmas. Listeners have sent dilemmas in, and we have a go at solving them with the help of my guest. And to polish it all off, we end with a quick fire round that really puts them in the hot seat. So there's only one thing left to do. Enjoy the episode. And today, I'm joined by GP, author, and television presenter, Dr Ranj Singh. Welcome. Everyone now is just so jealous. I've got a face-to-face with the doctor. They can't believe it.
Oh, no, not that old chestnut.
There is a receptionist outside in the hallway, just in case I overstay my welcome. Dr Ranj, welcome to Pack Your Bags. How are you? No one ever checks in with the doctor.
I've actually just come back relatively recently from being away. Went to Marrakesh with some mates.
Pleasure, business?
It was pleasure. It was more just needed a bit of sun. Where we were staying was quite posh. So you get that sort of nice, glamorous bit to it. And then it's nice to go and see the real Marrakesh as well.
Indeed.
But yeah, it was nice and a nice time to sort of catch up with mates as well.
Did you have a tagine when you were there?
Tagine, yes.
You've got to have a
The
tagine.
food's incredible. Oh yeah.
And they're all annoyingly slim and good-looking Moroccans. Like, why aren't they? Why?
Because they eat sensibly and they eat a variety of different things. And whereas we go over there and we basically just pig out. I absolutely adored their food because it's the mixture of the spiciness with a bit of the sweet, the nuttiness of some of their food. It's incredible.
Spice, sweetie, and nutty. That's my Tinder
my
profile.
nickname in prison.
Yeah, in prison. Each episode, we take a travel dilemma from our audience and to see if our guest can solve it. And we all have a bit of advice, but if you're getting it from a doctor, it's twice as powerful. Well, so are you ready to hear the dilemma?
I can try.
I absolutely love my skincare. However, I've noticed whenever I go on a flight, I seem to break out in spots. I have a long flight coming up, so I'm very nervous. What can I do to combat this?
I think people get breakouts on flights for a number of different reasons. One, your sleep goes out the window. You usually get up at stupid o'clock, and that affects your skin anyway. The air in the plane is dry. You're probably not hydrating enough because you become dehydrated on flights, etc., etc. My advice would be make sure you've packed a decent skin wash, ideally one that's got a slight peeling agent in it, like salicylic acid is pretty good, or glycolic acid. Test your skin first before using something like that because they naturally unclog pores and things like that.
Good tip.
Make sure you've got a good moisturizer if you can, and these things tend to be quite expensive, but retinol-based things at night, if you can use those, they can dry your skin a little bit and close your pores. That can help with spots, and stay hydrated.
Bloody hell, that's like just an actual answer. First one, 2 series, first one we've had. Right, so we're going to go through your hand luggage now. I want to know what your first must-pack item is. Tell me what it is.
Oh, no. See, a lot of people will just assume that it's just going to be a bunch of medical stuff, right? And don't get me wrong.
EpiPen, Savlon.
EpiPen. Yeah, just throw in the occasional EpiPen. Like, stuff like that I do take, but I find talking about it is relatively boring and most people probably get it. So I've brought along some stuff that you might not expect. Let me just pop my cup of tea down.
Slight frisson of nerves then, wasn't
it?
Did you? That
No.
laugh just had a shade of menace to it.
I am holding a bottle of Tabasco. Just like Beyonce,
yeah,
I've got a hot sauce in my bag.
Yeah.
1, I'm a foodie. 2, I love spicy food. I grew up on spicy food. I'm Indian, so, we throw spice in everything. Ironically, spicy food doesn't like me. So if I have too much of it, my holiday's not that much fun.
No.
If you go to a hot sauce country, fantastic. But I like to carry one of these.
But even then, I'd have the best trip to Barbados. Notoriously a hot sauce country.
Yeah.
Out comes the chicken, out comes the fries. Can I have some hot sauce, please? And because it's the whole reason you go into the Caribbean is for the laid back, relaxed vibes. But that's a 5-minute delay when my food's getting cold. Whereas I'm packing an independent hot sauce in my pocket.
You can get those really, really little ones, the tiny sort of
individual shots.
Yeah, they're literally.
When I go to pool parties and stuff, and you're when I'm in my Ibiza, obviously you're just in your swimming trunks. So last year I was in my trademark, which was some gold boots, cowboy hat, gold jacket, and a hot sauce holster on my hip. So so that when the fries arrive,
Do you know what it's also good for? Is that next morning, Bloody Mary.
nutritionally as a doctor, could you endorse a
I
blood?
mean, I wouldn't endorse it, but if you put your celery in there, it's got fibre, it's got a bit of veg, it's got a bit of fruit. You have to put Tabasco in
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Otherwise, it doesn't have the same kick.
Is travel good for us? Obviously, there's a relaxation, there's the stress elements, but the idea of actually going somewhere else, of broadening your horizon,
Yeah.
what benefits does that have for human beings?
I grew up not travelling very much. In fact, I'm from a working class background. I think I'd
Where
been
did you grow up,
abroad
Dr. Ranj?
in Kent. I think I'd been abroad 3 times before my 18th birthday, if that.
Wow.
And it's only now as an adult that I can appreciate how good it is if you can do it. Is it physically good for us? Yes, because it gets you moving. Anything that gets you moving is good for you. I went to Palma de Mallorca with some mates on a health retreat and found out I liked climbing mountains.
Wow.
I got the nickname Goat.
So you can discover new things.
Exactly.
Do you think it gives you permission to not be yourself, if you know what I mean, to experiment with other facets of your personality?
Absolutely. You might do things you probably wouldn't in wherever you live. So, people tend to be a bit more adventurous physically. Being in a green or blue space, there's loads of evidence that actually says, and no matter where that is, but we're more likely to be in green and blue spaces when we're abroad usually.
Yeah.
That's has a really positive effect on your well-being. So just simply being by the sea or being in a big green space. Sun exposure makes us feel good, but it also boosts our vitamin D levels. And we know that that's related to loads of health stuff. I'm not going to go into the boring details of it. But yeah, going abroad if you can and nourishing yourself mentally in terms of witnessing and experiencing other cultures and other foods and the social aspect of it. I went to Grand Cannes with a bunch of my mates on a big gay holiday last year. And yeah, Gran Canaria, it's wild. It is. But there's a sense of solidarity that you get when you do something like that with your community.
Do you think it can deepen relationships as well, marriages and romantic relationships, and not as a salve, not to fix problems, but just to take time out and remember why you fell in love? And
but they can make or break relationships, can't they? That's the thing. When you're spending that much time one-on-one with someone, often in close quarters, it will either strengthen or show you what your relationship may not be working. Ironically, I went away on a holiday once upon a time and got divorced after it. When I was young, I was married to a woman. We went on a holiday and realized that this wasn't going to be the long haul. This wasn't going to be the thing. And yeah, it was. Then I sort of thought, yeah, I don't think this is.
But it's still a good thing because it did in a sense put you in touch with the real you. I know I hate that sort of American phrase, but you know what I mean. It showed you that the love wasn't right or the relationship wasn't
exactly.
Bit of a hot topic at the moment because as we know, we're in a youth mental health crisis. But what I've noticed is soon as I go away with my daughter, her behaviour mysteriously improves over the week. It's almost like she's playing in the sea and not staring at an anxiety-inducing box. So I've just read this book, and travel is one of the best things that you can do with your children. There's this book, I think it should be being prescribed by GPs. It's called The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt, looking at the science behind why children are more anxious. And they're saying that we've done 2 things at the same time. We've made the real world overly safe and closed down adventure and children aren't playing outside. And we've made the online world overly accessible. Now, apart from the journey there where you're going to need all your films and everything to get there, when we get there, isn't travel a wonderful way for children to reconnect with nature and have real play?
Tangible experiences. Because so many kids and young people live their lives and their viewpoint on the world is online, actually. And you could argue that actually that's opened up a lot for some people, especially if you've got different physical needs and you haven't been able to physically get somewhere. It does open up a massive world to you, but we must always remember and always tell kids to put that into perspective because often it's not the real world, and to have a tangible experience in the real world, as you know, is really therapeutic and actually really positive. And if we can encourage it, I think we should. There is so much more stimulus happening on young brains now than there ever has been before. But I'm not surprised, as you were saying, your daughter's behaviour changes when you go, because we all change our behaviour. I think we all relax.
It's great to see kids making new friends on holiday as well.
Yes.
The flip side of holidays, of course, as soon as I get there, I start grazing on everything that moves. Particularly, I've got to admit, I like all types of holiday, and I was trained by my dad on the all-inclusive wristband.
Oh, that's where you make your money back.
Dave Kane, no one leaves the resort till we're in profit. My brother would be like, I'm allergic to lobster. Go up again, EpiPen, continue feasting.
No.
So how can we stay healthiest on holiday? Should we try and do a bit of physical activity, building an excursion, or should we not even be thinking about being healthiest on holiday?
Oh, do you know the best and worst bits of that is I love a cruise, and on cruise ships, if you go for an all-inclusive, you don't just get one buffet, you get a ton of buffets. I love it.
What about the Dubai buffets?
Oh, love it. Those Dubai brunches, incredible. I'm a massive believer that eating experiences should be positive, and if you can do them together with people, they're really, really good. It is very easy to get carried away on holiday, and you do perhaps just need to be mindful. So try not to eat when you're too distracted, because you tend to overeat when we do that, myself included. Buffets are the classic example. You probably don't need to eat everything.
No.
And what you can just do, and what I've started doing, is I love a buffet because I'm like a kid in a toy store, but I want to taste everything. I don't necessarily want to eat everything, if you know what I mean. So I just have a bit of everything. So I've had that opportunity to try it all out. And that's the other thing. If you want to be slightly more in control of how much you're putting in, loading things up, loading your plate up with salads and vegetables and stuff, so that you're not just eating the calorie dense stuff necessarily.
Okay, listeners, I'm going to go there. Skip this bit if you don't want to listen to it. But when I said I was speaking to you today, everyone wanted to know the same question. And I'm afraid it falls under a column called poo.
Oh,
now,
lovely.
Why, when all my aunties, mum and everyone else land, can they not use the bathroom for 2 days?
Right.
What is going on? Is it the pressure of the aeroplane? Is it not enough fibre? Is it performance anxiety? Skip forward if you don't listen to it, but I promise you, lots of people want to know the answer.
Everyone wants to know poo talk, right? So the reason we get constipated when we go abroad, several different things, our diets change. Okay, so we may not be eating as much fiber and things like that. Like I said, planes dehydrate you. So fluid moves from your intestine into your tissues, and that's why your feet swell up and your legs swell up.
On the flight.
So hydrate yourself a bit more. When we go to the toilet, it is a psychological as well as a physical experience, right? So we need to feel comfortable.
It's spiritual after day 3.
We need to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And having that association with your toileting space needs to be conducive to going to the toilet, and you need to feel comfortable in opening your bowels there. If you don't, if it's a foreign loo syndrome, I call it, you're less likely to be able to go. It is a real thing. The other thing I would always, and we always recommend this actually for kids, if you are parenting or caring for a little one and they are struggling to go, just a simple habit of every morning after breakfast, even if you don't need to go, sit on the toilet. Train your body into thinking it's a routine thing. I need to go.
Oh, that's the other thing I want to ask you. So, because obviously we fly to all these wonderful places, there's so many different time changes. So, is your bowel, duodenum, colon, ileum, the one that starts with the J?
All the intestines. Jejunum.
Is my colon still on Greenwich Mean Time while my face is on sort of Costa Rican time?
Our bodies, as you know, as everyone knows, we work on cycles, right? We work on cycles depending on whether it's day and night, and that's why we get jet lag and stuff like that. Our hormones are based on cycles. Even our body motions, our bowel habits are based on cycles. So you might find that you probably need to go at a slightly different time. But if you can get into that mental habit of thinking, I'm comfortable, it's just after breakfast, let's have a sit down.
But that's the other thing I wanted to ask about on a serious note. Some people getting ill on holiday. It doesn't tend to happen, obviously, if you're in an all-inclusive family resort. But a lot of people want to go out exploring. Yeah. What precautions can we take against viruses and things like that? Yeah,
so I have a mnemonic soap with 2 P's on the end. So it's sunblock, oral rehydration solutions, sachets, antihistamine, painkillers / fever killers, and plasters and bandages. Those, generally speaking, if you take those, you're probably going to stay relatively healthy. If you want to avoid things like, gastroenteritis, food poisoning, etc., you've just got to be careful about washing your hands. Be careful about eating at buffets, because often, people of various hands may have been in the buffet, and sometimes you get insects that are transmitting things. Be very careful eating fruit and salad that's been washed in local water. You may want to wash it yourself. It's a bottled water. You can get sterilizing tablets that you can add to water if you're somewhere that you haven't got access to it. Antibac those are things that I would recommend to anyone, really.
Listener question. By listener, I mean my mum. My mum wants to know, have you ever stood up on an aeroplane when someone said, "Hey, is there a doctor on board?"
I've never been in that situation. But do you know what? I really want to, because apparently if you do, you get an upgrade.
Is that right?
Well, someone told me that. Is that not true?
What you need is a friend to get angina in economy, an actor like me. We work together, double upgrade.
Someone said
I can only recover in the premium. You can only treat me in the premium.
There you go.
Miraculous recovery.
That's what we
Cocktail
need.
when we get to the front. What's your next item?
Oh, so I talked about Tabasco. If I have too much of that, I need the second one.
Oh, crikey.
And I know you're going to like this because we are both fragrance fanatics, aren't we?
I was so sure Imodium was coming out there.
Toilet duck. So I am a person of creature comforts. I like fragrances. I like them because smell is so connected to memory and experience because your brain associates the two together. So if I always say to people, if you're trying to learn something, if you spray something that associates with it, you're more likely to remember.
Can I just communicate with the listeners how wonderful Dr Ranj smells, to the point where the start of this recording was delayed while we went on websites discussing fragrances.
Yeah, so I like a little bit at home with me, and I have a room spray that I pack in my suitcase.
What a great
I take
tip.
it everywhere with me.
This could help with the performance anxiety in the bathroom we were talking about, because
and there you go.
I'm
it's
at
that
home,
familiarity, but also for the after effects of the bathroom, potentially, depending on how much Tabasco or whatever you've had.
And if it's a new relationship as well.
Yeah,
I mean, we've had this discussion before. We've had people popping down to reception and all that. Room spray, what a great travel hack.
But this,
What's
isn't it
that?
nice? That's got orange and cedarwood.
There are some people that are quite cautious or shy about travelling.
Yeah.
And it's a great travel hack to bring a few things. It could even be like a throw you put on the bed or a cushion or something like that.
Proverbial security blanket that you have. It's called a transitional object.
And with travel as well, some cities. Yeah. I mean, you've just been to Marrakesh.
Oh, the smells of the spices and things like that. And if you go to, for instance, if you go to Arabic countries, they're very much into their fragrances.
Yeah.
And, you know, the oud-based stuff, which is gorgeous. You go to India, you'll smell the cooking spices. Go to Thailand, lemongrass reminds me of Thailand.
Yeah, I was about to say Thailand.
And coconut and all of those things that are so gorgeously juicy and smell wonderful. Lemongrass makes me think of spas as well.
Yeah, of course. What about wellness on holiday? A lot of people go away and they discover things like wellness, yoga, breathing, meditation. Is it traveling a great way to start a good new habit?
It is, depending on which part of the world you get. So you get loads of retreats everywhere. I've been to one in Mallorca, as I said, but you get various places around the world, particularly Eastern parts of the world. You'll get lots of sort of yoga-based retreats and stuff like that. There's a big vogue towards places like Ibiza having health retreats and stuff.
It does like one side of the island to ruin you and the other side to fix you.
To fix you. They can be really good fun. Like I said, the social connection side of it's amazing. You're doing stuff with people, and you do generally tend to try healthier habits. What I would say avoid personally and as a medical professional is those things that like juice retreats or extreme sort of, you know, dietary practice that you're not going to maintain when you get back. Yeah. So say, oh, I'm going on a 7-day detox. There is no such thing necessarily. Your kidneys and your liver are automatic detoxers for your body. That's their job. So when people go in detoxing breaks and stuff like that, it does make me itch a little bit because I'm like, you know what? These are usually quite extreme habits that you're only going to do for a week, and then when you get back, you're going to fall back into what you were doing.
Potentially worse than before, because if you starve yourself enough, don't you lower your metabolism?
Exactly, and you're potentially, possibly depriving yourself of certain nutrients and vitamins and minerals.
You heard it from a doctor, guys.
So the physical one's great. I think they're fantastic because, you know, what you've got to make sure is that you're nourishing yourself in the most regular and nutritious way as well.
I will be going on a 7-day tox to Ibiza. Now, you talk a lot about being yourself and letting go of the pressure to boost mental health. Can travel help with this?
Interestingly, I've had a couple of like holidays where I've been, and you know, when you learn something about yourself because you've just given yourself space. So I always say that, you know, our lives are so fast paced now. There's a pressure to be productive all the time. There's a pressure to achieve, there's a pressure to do, and we're trying to cram more and more into our days, and we forget to stop and have those gaps. And those gaps, we tend to have more of those on holiday, and that's when you reflect, you take stock, you learn. And those are really, really important. But holidays are the times where sometimes you do probably some of your most deep thinking. So I'm one of these people who isn't particularly body confident. I've never been body confident. I look at you and I think, I wish I had a body like that. I'd quite happily peel your skin off and climb on
How much have you got on you?
I went on a holiday to Dubai and I went on a solo trip because I just wanted, it was post-pantomime. Pantomimes of Christmas time's a very busy time of year. It's done like 80 shows in 2 months. And I needed a break just to self-indulge. I went and I don't take my top off at the beach because I feel too self-conscious. But this holiday when I was there by myself and I felt, having done panto for 2 months, I felt well physically, was one of the first times I'd ever taken my top off. But it was being away and being alone, being in my own thoughts and my own space.
I think people will get a lot from hearing that you have those.
I think people assume just because you do a certain job or you might be on screen or whatever or anything like, or in the public eye, that you are naturally confident. That's not necessarily the case. And I think a lot of blokes, we don't talk about body confidence and our feelings and stuff like that, as you well know. And it's important to know that issues like that, issues around appearance and feelings and thoughts around your body image, is just as important for boys and men than it has been traditionally speaking. You know, we might have thought for girls and females and women that they're more likely to be thinking about that sort of thing because of societal pressures, etc. But I think increasingly everyone else is feeling it as well, myself included. So I never grew up as that confident kid, but I went on this holiday and there was just something about, you know, I'm by myself, I'm on the beach.
Well, I wondered if it's that if you'd recommend that then, because there's a lot of people listening to this that might not have the confidence to go away on their own, let alone be whipping their top off on a beach on their own.
I'm a massive believer in solo holidays. Be careful, be safe, you know, that's really, really important. But going away and being in your own space and doing things where there's no judgment, because, you know, you may not be surrounded by people you know, you may not be surrounded by anyone at all. And it can be so liberating. And in that moment, I know this sounds really silly to some people, that
you can't help what concerns you.
Exactly.
And if it concerns you, you should address it. And solo travel, what a great way to explore yourself in a safe way.
In a safe way, without the judgment of anyone who you may possibly feel normally. So some people are very beachy, aren't they? They want to go to a beach and just basically completely switch off. I'm a city person. I love a city. I love exploring. I love being active. So
any recommendations for city breaks?
One of my favourites, and I've not long been there actually, is New York is one of my favourite cities in the world, purely because I walk everywhere in New York. Because you can, it's a grid-based system. It's really hard to get lost. You can work out exactly where you need to go. You can just walk absolutely everywhere. You look up and it feels like you're in a movie set. I did a massive Broadway binge when I was there. So I saw every show under the sun and it felt magical. Similarly, if you want to go somewhere closer, Barcelona, I think is fantastic because, again, it's a beautiful place. You can walk to the beach from moments from the city itself. There's loads of places that you can explore and eat. There's some great architecture, culture. Occasionally you need a beach break. Absolutely fine. But Barcelona has both, doesn't it?
Have you ever got lost though? Had a bit of a like, oh, what's going on here? Had an adventurous night out where you're not sure where it's going to finish, or not sure where you are?
I went on elective as a medical student to the Caribbean. And basically what that means is in your final years as a medical student, you go abroad and you work abroad. So I went to experience healthcare in Grenada, but we say experience healthcare in inverted commas because you do far more. And there were some, I think, ropey moments at the end of the night where you're just like, I'm not sure where I am. And I'm not sure if this person is a taxi driver. And Grenada's gorgeous. The people are wonderful. There's so many beautiful things about it. So I don't want people to get any kind of impression. But there were moments when you're younger and you take risks that maybe I wouldn't do when I'm older. Certainly there may have been some moments where I'm like, I have no idea where I am anymore.
Now, can you share what travelling as a gay man has been like for you, both personally and professionally? So
I came out, don't like the phrase, but I became my authentic self, exploded when I was 30. I've lived as a, inverted commas, heterosexual person. I've lived as a queer person or LGBTQ plus person, whichever terminology you prefer. And one of the shifts that happens is you are very mindful of where you go and what you're doing. And that happens as LGBTQ plus people. There is a layer of, actually not too dissimilar from, I think, from women who are traveling. There's a layer of am I going to be okay? Is this safe for me? Am I going to be able to go somewhere that, I'm going to be with like-minded people? And it does make you think. I think there is a misconception that certain parts of the world are notoriously unanimously anti this or anti that, when actually when you go there, they're not quite like that. That's not to say that there aren't places like that out there. I wouldn't automatically tar destinations and just say, oh, you're anti this and therefore I'm not going to go there. I'd very much speak to the communities that are there and ask them, actually. But it does make you stop and think and be mindful, I think, where you go. And there's loads of guides, if you're LGBTQ plus, of safer places to go. There are places in the world where we wouldn't recommend you go. But then similarly, there are places that...
Where would you recommend? Where have you gone and really connected with communities when you've got there? Where's the best part you had? Best festivals, pride marches? Tell us somewhere amazing.
Okay, I mentioned New York before, but I went to New York Pride twice. Absolutely wonderful. Grand Can and Sitges Pride was brilliant. I've been to a few international prides. Canada I love because it's one of the most metropolitan inclusive place I've ever been to. I think it's
wonderful. Where did you go in Canada? Canada's, I'll tell you what, it's come up such a surprising amount. I thought I better remember to talk about Canada because one of my producers is Canadian. She's always staring at me through the glass. Now we've got too much Canada.
Toronto. I love that you can go from the centre of downtown Toronto to various places. You go to Koreatown, Italian town, Indian town, Chinatown. There's everything's there. It's a giant melting pot of wonderful things. I went to Sydney and Melbourne with Kylie and Danny Minogue.
You went with Kylie Minogue?
Yeah, so I've been to Sydney and Melbourne once, and I've got mates that live in places like Brisbane. I still want to go. Sydney, I went with Kylie, and we were at the Sydney Opera House. You can't
just say Sydney, I went with Kylie.
Yeah, I was dancing with Kylie at Sydney Opera House because it was like a 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
And the reason I went to Sydney with Kylie is because my ex-partner is Kylie's hair and makeup artist, and Danny's as well. So we went to Sydney with Kylie, which was really good fun.
Wow.
And then I went and stayed with Danny in Melbourne. We even went to Ron and Carol, their parents' house. It's bonkers. Absolutely mad.
You hung out with Ron and Carol Minogue?
Absolutely mad. I mean, it was one of the most gloriously gay bonkers experience I've ever had. I mean, it was like gay heaven. I also went to
Best story till last, or
New York with them as well, which was interesting because they were filming the X Factor judges' houses in New York. And I went along just for a laugh. I thought, do you know what? I'll explore New York while you guys are filming.
There's just time for the quickfire, but before that, I believe we still one item in your case.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Hang on, I've got two of them because I brought you one as well, Russell, just in case. Let me unwrap this. If you're into ASMR, that was horrible probably for you. Oh, you can have that one.
Thank you.
This is a fly swatter.
It is a swatter. I thought it would be.
An extendable. And there's a story behind these. I went on a cruise with my best mate around the Mediterranean. We ended up in Rhodes and we were meeting. His mum lives in Turkey with her boyfriend. So they came and we met up in Rhodes because it's a short boat ride for them. And she brought me as a gift a fly twatter because there were flies everywhere. You're having lunch and they're just getting in your face. And she gave me one and I took it to Grand Can and I broke it because I twatted a fly so hard.
How big was this fly? So I suppose if you are going on like a little shoulder month Caribbean break where it's getting a bit warmer, it would have a safety aspect as well for keeping any little bites off you because some people really do blow up with the bites. So
yeah,
like
next time you go away, you can take a fly swatter with you.
Quick fire time.
Oh no.
Dream celeb travel partner.
I want to go on holiday with Adele. One, because she looks and sounds like such a cracking laugh and she seems really down to earth and I feel like she'd be really filthy in terms of her sense of humour.
I agree.
And also, she could just like entertain you and sing you to sleep.
You know she would sing in private. You know, some people are like, I'm resting my voice, but I bet she's belting it out while she's cooking and stuff.
I'd love to go karaoke with Adele.
Yeah, could you imagine?
Right.
First thing on your plate at the buffet.
Can I say chips?
Yeah, of course.
yeah, probably some carbs, some chips.
Biggest travel ick.
People who put their seats back on planes. I'm too polite. I won't do it because I don't want to restrict anyone behind me. I know you're allowed. And I know some people have to and all that, but it does get on my nerves just a little bit because I'm like, now I can't do anything.
Favourite holiday destination?
Oh, there's so many. But you know what? I'm going to pick one that I haven't mentioned so far, Sri Lanka.
Really? Sri Lanka?
Stunning. Beautiful place.
Have you been before?
Beautiful, yeah. Beautiful food, beautiful people.
We already know the answer to this, but just to recap, city break or beach escape?
Yeah, see, beachy city, Dubai,
There we
Barcelona,
go. That's what
why
I'm saying.
not?
The beach city is the way forward. What's the first thing you do when you check into your hotel? Do you dump the bag rundown? Do you do a serial killer unpack like me? Everything organised? Anti-bac the inside of the case and stand by for inspection? What do you do?
I video my hotel room. I'm one of
Really?
those people. Yeah, because I want to know what it was like before I ruined it.
I still FaceTime my mum when I check in
Do
to
you?
show off the facilities.
I do that thing where I leave all my bags by the door, so it feels like I haven't gone in yet, and then I go in and I do that little sort of pano around
why
it.
not?
Yeah, I'm one of them.
Yeah, but it's a sign of
Influencer
gratitude.
generation, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's a gratitude thing.
It is.
You're so amazed and grateful where
And
you
I
are. You
don't-
want to.
Yeah, I want to see it when it was.
There you go. That's a good thing.
Spick and span.
This has really divided people. Well, the next two questions, people fall into two camps. Thoughts on clapping when the plane lands?
Why not? It's fun and it's joyful.
And this one really does tell me a lot about you psychologically. You can't hide in this question. Window or aisle seat?
I don't mind.
Oh,
I often end up getting the window seat purely because everyone I know seems to want to wee on planes a lot.
yeah. Holiday planner or turn up?
I sort when I get there. I don't want to plan too much unless you've got like book tickets to stuff. I don't want to plan too much because I'm like, just get there and see what's around and then plan your day.
Bucket list destination, somewhere you know you're going to go before you pop your clogs. You really want to go, but you haven't been there yet.
You reckon? Oh my word. Okay.
So there must be somewhere
Do you
you've
know where
lusted
I wanna
over
go?
and looked at pictures and think, I'm going to go there one day.
Tibet.
Tibet.
I'd love to go to Tibet.
Wow.
I'd love to. Nepal and Tibet. I'd love to. It's beautiful. And I've
Yeah.
only ever seen it in pictures. And I'm a big fan of Nepalese food. And I know they're different places, but that part of the world, I'd love to go there and I want to go to a Buddhist monastery and just completely zone out.
Holiday karaoke song of choice.
Oh my word.
Well, it's Hello from the Other Side, isn't it?
Do you know what I once did in a bar in LA called Flaming Saddles? I did Stevie Wonder Lately.
How'd it go?
And I did it out of tune, and what's his face from Boyzone was sitting in the audience. I was so embarrassed. Was it Mark? Yeah, Mark.
He was in
From
the
Boyzone,
audience?
it was in the audience. I noticed afterwards. I mean, safe to say he didn't sit and
No.
ask for the whole song. He left. But yeah, I mean, I'd had a couple of special grape juices by
Yeah.
that stage. But yeah, Lately by Stevie Wonder.
That's a good one. I go for Pony by Genuine.
Oh, I
but
knew you'd go for
I
something
need
like
someone
that.
to hold the microphone while I get the last items off. Go-to holiday drink.
Have you ever had a margarita fizz?
I've had lots of margaritas. I've had spicy margaritas. I haven't had a
Oh,
fizzy margarita.
Non-alcoholic versions are available, but it's basically a margarita with either Prosecco or champagne, depending on how fancy you're feeling in it. It is game-changing.
Oh, that's one to try.
Oh, nice.
Favorite holiday activity? So you seem to be quite into meditation and wellness and walking and just...
Yeah, that's all lovely and stuff. My favourite, probably eating. Can that be classed as an activity?
It does, because you've got permission to go, I'm on my holiday, I'll
I
eat what I want.
genuinely liked sampling other countries and cultures' foods. I love it.
It's come up again and again. It's a way of seeing other cultures. You
Yeah.
can travel there, not just physically, but you can travel through your palate while you're there.
Totally. And
There's
walking,
so much history.
walking
and,
is probably my other
Yep.
thing. I love walking around and seeing places.
and walking following eating. The doctor would prescribe that.
Yeah, exactly. Might even get things moving.
Exactly. This is a tough one. Best travel memory. You mentioned only going abroad
Oh,
three
do you know-
times when you were a kid. I wondered if one of them was one of those holidays.
No, I hated going abroad as a kid because we only ever went to the same place, and that was usually to see family.
Where
And
did
that
you
was-
go?
We went to India a lot. That was lovely. Lovely as it is to see family, it kind of got a little bit, I don't know, repetitive for me. Favourite travel? I mean, dancing with Kylie Minogue at Sydney
Yeah.
Opera House was pretty
It's
pretty
hard
up
to top
there.
that.
I'm not going to lie, it was pretty much up there.
Dr. Ranj, thank you so much. What are you up to? Well, obviously, you're all over the TV all the time, but is there anything else? Any juicy books or projects
Oh.
that you can leak to us today? What are
I'm
you up to
doing
this year?
3 big things in my life at the moment. One, I'm renovating a 200-year-old house.
Wow.
It's a water tower up north. 2, I'm writing an encyclopedia of the human body for kids at the moment.
Brilliant.
And 3, I'm still on the tour of Anne Juliet, the musical.
Dr. Ranj, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you all for joining us on this episode of Pack Your Bags with Tui. If it's your first time listening, we have plenty more episodes for you to dig into with the likes of Jason Fox, comedian Rob Beckett, and dance icon Oti Mabuse. And for those who have been with us all series, thanks for joining us on this journey. It's been a blast. Right, text Kylie, we're going out.
Yeah, let's go.